Good evening, SessionWell. My name is Adam Luke. Welcome to the SessionWell podcast. We'll get to introduction soon, but if this is the first time that you have ever listened to us or watched us on YouTube Live, don't worry, our mascot is getting into the picture. But anyways, if you've wondered what SessionWell is a place for licensed clinicians, pre-licensed clinicians, and the average Joe. And what we do is we take and we talk about the interventions that we use in this field to help our clients. We break them down so that everyone can utilize them. Again, we wanted to build a community where pre-licensed clinicians, licensed clinicians, and everyone felt like they were a part of something. It was something that we found was hard to do. And you are joining us on our last podcast of this season. Yep. Woohoo! So again, I am Adam Luke. I'm an associate marriage and family therapist.
I'm Judy, also associate marriage family therapist. This is our last podcast for the season because we are entering into summer. So we're going to take a couple weeks off because I'm going to go get married. And then we'll reconvene in, I think, June 20th. But we just want to say thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much to my brother Fred Yen for all that he does. If you're ever looking for promo videos, web design, or lead generations, you can always contact him at Kara Studios.
Perfect. So what are we giving you as a takeaway? We had an amazing season. Again, if this is the first time you're tuning in, please take a peek at it. You can, again, follow it on YouTube. We are on all the major podcast and streaming platforms. My personal favorite is iHeartRadio. But what are we going to leave you guys with? We felt like doing a recap would probably be not what we needed to leave you with. So we decided we're going to give you some takeaways in the form of upping your summer reading list.
Yes. And we wanted something that was tangible and usable. So I know, especially for like new therapists, even like seasoned therapists, at least for me personally, I love hearing about new resources, new interventions. There's a lot of things that Adam uses that I've never heard of, and so I love to learn from him and from everybody else. We've had so many amazing guests this season, and so we've literally taken things from each one of them. And so we just kind of wanted to leave you guys for the summer. Whether or not you're actually seeing clients yet, or you are seeing a ton of clients, we just want to be able to give you guys something that we found to be really helpful, so that way you guys can use it in your practice as well.
Yep. All right, so what we're going to start off with is a book that I love to use with parents. This is the Mayhem portion of our podcast. Our title this evening was, what is it again?
What was the first word? Marriage? No.
Yeah, marriage, mayhem, and yourself.
And
right?
yourself, yes.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. Again, it's Thursday evening at 8 o'clock. We're running on fumes, but we're going to bring you something worth taking home. So, sort of a niche that I've gotten that I didn't necessarily, when I set out in this field, want, is I end up working really well with children. And that might be funny, but I work with what I call developing males and adolescent issues. And so this is a book that landed on my desk about a year ago and has blown me away. It's The Whole Brain Child. And again, these are actually books that we use. So I'm actually in this moment, I'm walking through with a couple of my clients using this book. Now, Adam, why do I care about it? Here's the deal. I have not found a book as a clinician or a regular old person that breaks down the developing child's mind in such an easy format. The author of this is Daniel Siegel.
I love him.
And Tina Payne Bryanson. Judy and I are huge Dan Siegel fans. We've seen him speak live. He is a master of the brain, basically.
He does a really good job at like combining neuroscience with just relational aspects and like trauma and attachment. And he kind of wraps all of that nicely together. Even if you're not really a science person, it's just something that you can still kind of grasp. Like I personally love neuroscience and I love how the mind works, so I'm a huge fan of his.
Yes, no, definitely. If when she said neuroplasticity or neuromind, that you just disassociated from your body, don't feel like you're out of the mix. He does a wonderful job with the neuroplasticity of the brain, and what I mean by that is the fact that no matter how old you are, no matter the traumas you've experienced, your brain has plasticity, which means that your brain will adapt, will improve. And so he brings a lot of hope to it. So getting back to this, I think there's a lot of very biased adult books out there, adulting books.
Right.
What it means is they come from either the disciplinary side or it comes from I need to raise a butterfly child. My child needs to be super creative. I want to create a space where they just can be, express themselves emotionally, can just exist in creativity. This book does a great job at blending the fact that whether you teach or you parent your child from the right brain or the left brain only, you're doing it wrong. Sorry, don't mean to be a Debbie Downer. It's the fact that it's the truth. And if anything, we have realized in this world lately that whether you are 100% left brain, right brain, whatever political spectrum, it's not good to just be solidly based on one side and one ideology. So it really speaks about blending that mind. The other side is the fact that your child has two sides to them.
We all do.
We all do.
Yeah. I think the reason I think parents, not that you guys, I mean, like, obviously, like, we don't have kids, so we can't tell you that you're doing it wrong totally, but I think that it's very normal to parent a child either in two ways. One, the way you were parented by your parents, or two, what feels familiar to you. So if you are more left brain, logical, you like things to be orderly, those kinds of things, you might be more of a disciplinarian. But if you are more right brain and you're very creative and emotion based and very free flowing, you might treat your child the same way. So it's not that one side or the other is bad or good. It's the fact that you want to be able to balance both sides, because every human being has both sides, especially a developing child.
Absolutely. I think the way that you were breaking it down, I couldn't help but think of however you parent, that is a part of the ingredient to a fully developed person. But if you just have eggs all your life, you're not going to understand bacon. That's how that works.
They're both delicious together.
They're both delicious, and they can come together. So I'm not going to walk you through all the interventions, but just one that I have watched parents sort of latch on and have an aha moment is how the book calls to fashion something called dismiss and deny, and renames it name it to tame it. So I'll just read from this real quick. Essentially what they're talking about is a child that bumps and scrapes their knee. They're crying. They're, in pain. Some parents will come up and say, "You're okay. It's not bad. You're fine. Everything's good. And let's move on from that situation." Now, we're not going to get into the psychodynamic perspective of what that parent's after, but we've all been there. The parent's probably rushed. The parent might have other children to attend to. Maybe is trying to stick to a schedule. Something happens. And this will all happen to all of us. It's something that I dread as a therapist, of knowing as a therapist parent, I'm going to fail too. It's going to happen. So the name it to tame it side is basically letting that child cry. In that moment, I fell down, but instead of trying to deny and dismiss, you go, "Yeah, I saw that. I saw you running. I saw you scrape your knee. Ow, that's gotta hurt." And then using this as a way to link the left brain and the right brain. Because essentially what we want them to do is we want our children to be able to cognitively understand what they're experiencing and then be able to express it emotionally. So how they're blending the brain on this one is, as a parent, you're telling them, you're explaining to them what happened. But to change the dynamic a little bit, you say, "And so what happened?" "Oh, mommy came over." "Okay, well, what happened when mommy or daddy came over?" "Oh, I feel better." "Okay, why don't we get a Band-Aid? Why don't we get whatever, Neosporin, whatever you want."
I love Neosporin.
It rocks. But it's allowing the child to express emotionally what they're feeling. The reason why this little strategy here gets so much traction with parents that I work with is because that same child that bumps and scrapes its knee is going to come home when they're 13, 14, 15, and they didn't make the football team or they didn't make the cheer or song squad. And they may not know how to verbalize what they are feeling. And sure, they didn't scrape their knee, they didn't cut themselves open, but they are emotionally feeling pain, and they are now not equipped to be able to tell you what's going on. And most parents will dismiss and deny. And again, I don't say this to be mean, but a lot of times it's our own countertransference. So it's our own feelings, right? Our hearts can completely be in wanting to see our daughter be on the school song, cheer, whatever, or play softball, whatever they may be into, or again, our sons. And we feel that pain. We don't want to feel it either, so we tell them, you're going to be fine. You can do it next year. How about we try a club sport? How about we try private lessons? But we're not getting to what that kid is feeling. And so I feel like parents, if you want a child that is able to talk to you in their despair, or at least give them the skill set to be able to, if they're able to get past their emotions and hormones and different things that are, again, chemically happening with your child, this is how you start. You start when they're young.
Yeah. Because you would be surprised. I mean, like, I don't know about you, Adam, but I get so many adults, male and female, that come in as an adult who cannot do that. They don't know how to identify their feelings. They don't know how to connect with them. They don't even know what they're feeling. They can't put a label to it. And oftentimes, if we're going to do inner child work, we will take them back and I'll ask them, what does that little version, boy, girl of you need? Like, what do they need at that time? What do you need now? And a lot of times they have a hard time doing that because when they were little, nobody really checked in, or they weren't really allowed the space to express what they needed and how they were feeling. So then now we get this adult who's very disconnected with their emotions. And so not only is that helpful for parents to read it to help parent, but also to be more attuned with like themselves as well.
Absolutely. Again, another good observation to make is if you see a child that's in the middle of a tantrum, a lot of times we want to be like, well, yeah, that kid just didn't get parented well, or that kid is just a terror, or that blank. Tantrums in children are largely markers in their developmental stages saying, I cannot emotionally or verbally express what I am feeling.
Yeah.
And so you just pop. And you know what? If we as adults could grow a little more empathy in realizing that, we can also realize there's times in our private lives as adults that we have tantrums.
Oh, absolutely.
But luckily, we can replace the vase before someone comes home. We can do...
Yeah.
Like, there's so many ways for us to isolate ourselves from it. A child doesn't have that ability. So, again, it's not realizing that your child wants to be a jerk. No child wants to.
No.
It's, I don't have the skill set or the fundamentals to be able to express what I'm feeling.
Yeah. Exactly. So that's our favorite one for children for the summer.
Yes, that one's a great one. Please pick that one up.
Yes. Okay, our next one is one, I think we've done this one before, but like it's just such a staple. And so this
Plus we're trained in it.
Yeah, and we're trained in it, so we're like kind of pushing it, and like we're huge fans of Gottman because they're like celebrities in our world. But this is the 7 principles for making marriage work, and it is something that literally is like handed to all couples, to all individuals, whether you're single or in a relationship. I just think it's super applicable to be able to just have on your shelf. And what's funny is that as I'm going to get married soon, I should probably do this with my future husband as well, which, honey, we are going to do this on our honeymoon.
Yeah, you should bring a book with you.
Look forward to it.
Guys are going to need on the flight back. Just kidding.
Right. But what's interesting is that because I am trained in it, there's a lot of things that I have actually already done. We've been in premarital. We do a lot of this anyway. And so not only is it good for you in couples counseling already, but if you read it on your own, even as a single person, you can take note of it and be able to like sprinkle it into your relationship without them even knowing. So that's kind of the nice part of it. So kind of the reasons what we talked about for this one is that there are 7 principles, and I'm not going to go over all 7 just because,
we don't have the time.
We don't have the time, and I'm sure
either.
the Gottmans want you to actually buy their book, which is super great. So, you can get it from Amazon. I can't remember how much it is, but it's not too bad. But it's just something that is very tangible that you can use. And so some of the things I'm going to go over is just like more like applicable interventions that you could use like quickly, like on a vacation or in the middle of a fight or whatever. So one of the things that I think is just super important for all relationships is admiration and appreciation. I know that is very easy in the beginning when you're like in love and it's like the honeymoon phase, but what happens when it's like 10 years in and you have a few kids and finances are difficult and strained and you look at the same face for 10 years every day, like how do you continue to show appreciation and admiration for your partner? So I'm just going to do a couple of the exercises that they have in here, and I'm just going to kind of use Adam as the person, but he's going to refer to his wonderful wife, Jill, whom we adore and love.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Admiration.
So one of the questionnaires, so you would do this with your partner, like maybe on date night or just before bed or just whenever you want to feel connected to them. And it doesn't have to be like in the very beginning of your relationship or in the middle. It could be at any point. So there are a lot of like true and false questions, so I'm just going to read them to him as if he's talking about Jill. Okay, so true or false? Ooh, I lost my page. Just kidding. Sorry, this is live. Okay.
I would not do that if I was my wife.
Can you easily list 3 things that you most admire about your partner?
Yes, I can. Hard worker. I don't know if we want to go through all this, but yeah, it's hard worker. She has just unbelievable tenacity in life. She has like something she wants to go after. She gets it. And then she is extremely supportive of everything I do, such as podcasts at 8 p.m. on Thursdays.
Oh, is she watching? Hi, Jill. Thanks for letting us borrow him.
She better be.
True or false? Do you feel like your partner really respects you?
True. Absolutely.
Okay. And then in addition to those, and there's like a whole list of them. So then another exercise.
Can I jump in just for a second?
Yes, of course.
So on that question, because I'm telling you the truth, my wife and I went halfway through the book and then life got in our way. And after this, we will get back into reading this book. But if you're sitting with your significant other and let's say that's false. Let's say you don't feel that way, true. Right? The beauty of this book is you have to think of this as a very soft hammer. Mm-hmm. Okay? And what I mean by that is if your partner answers any question in this book and you disagree with them, it is not your place to make your side of make your argument. So how would you navigate that? You would document that, okay, all right, false, and continue on with the rest of the intervention, because I've worked with couples that they stop in the middle of the intervention because, well, we couldn't get past question 2. It's not about who wins, right? Mm-hmm. It's how we both can feel loved together.
Right. It opens up dialogue and communication. Right, so this book isn't like it's not going to make your relationship completely better, and it's not painting your relationship as if it's the best thing in the world. It's basically opening up communication and fostering the relationship to be better if it needs to be. Well, I think every relationship needs to be.
Absolutely. Every relationship can be better than this moment.
And it should be. Like, your relationship shouldn't be stagnant. It shouldn't be exactly the way it was when you first met. And so that's what's really cool about this, because it does bring up some difficult topics. And so if he doesn't feel respected by his partner, after the end of the exercise, they can go back and go, okay, well, I noticed that you don't feel respected by me. Can you please tell me, what makes you feel that way? What would you need for me to feel respected? What are some of the things I can do to change that? I would like to respect you. And then it kind of opens up that conversation.
And there is body texts. And what I mean by that is they don't just drop this intervention on you and like, good luck. It's not a gladiator round. They give you hey, these are the skills that you will maybe have to go through. Let's talk about something that might bring up something you need the skill set in. Yeah. So.
And then things that sometimes there's variations of it. It's I call it the appreciation jar. For mm-hmm. them, they don't say it's a jar. For me, I just I'm a more visual person. And so what that would be is that, let's say, you haven't heard thank you in a while from your partner, or you really don't know if what you do for them is being recognized. So maybe having a jar in the middle of the room somewhere, and the homework for that week would be that every day or once a week even, drop something in the jar that you appreciate about them, but then give them an example. So instead of just saying that, what's something that you appreciate about Jill, just in general?
Honestly, she's an extremely hard worker. I really feel like I'm 50-50 in my relationship.
Okay, so for him, he can say, I appreciate the fact that Jill's a hard worker, and then give an example.
So, this may or may not work with what I just said, but it was really appreciation of realizing that she's got a business trip coming up, and she did the laundry last night because she can't do it over the weekend because she's going to be on this business trip. And it was like, wow, she didn't just do her laundry, she did my laundry. And a lot of times it's easy to forget that it is my laundry. It's not like she didn't just marry me to do my laundry. And it's
I laugh because AJ does my laundry.
And the roles can be flipped, but even if a person has skills in doing whatever they like to do, because sometimes people go, well, I love doing the laundry, and I don't like doing the dishes, so we're going to switch around. But even if they're doing that, I try to always say when she's done my laundry, thank you for doing my laundry. Or if she does the dishes, thank you for doing the dishes. There are so many base tasks that we take granted for. It's as simple as 2 weeks ago, I thanked her for putting new toothpaste out. Because, we're hysterical. We will take a tube of toothpaste as far as it possibly can. Like we're post-apocalyptic training of we can make this last a year, whatever it is. But it was as simple as like, thank you for putting that out.
Right. And it's good because I think that, everyone likes to be thanked. And just it's helpful to know that some of the things that maybe you didn't even think was that big of a deal is really meaningful for your partner, which would only encourage you to do it more. Okay, in addition to that, so that's like kind of like the lovey-dovey part of the book. So then there's other parts that are helpful to you when you're in conflict, which I'm sure every person has had conflict in their relationship.
I'm an MFT.
Right. And so a lot of times what they're saying is that the way you start a conversation is oftentimes how the conversation will end. And so if you come at your partner in a critical, defensive, blaming way, it's going to almost guarantee that conversation is going to end up being in the same context, same emotion base as when you first started. And so they call those harsh startups. I will openly admit that I am guilty. Like, instead of just being like, okay, so I noticed, a lot of times I'll be like, why isn't this done? Or why did you do that? Why weren't you here? What are you doing? And that's kind of my tone, even though I'm an MFT trained. And so a lot of times if fiance hears my tone get high like that and very like sharp, what's he going to feel? Automatically he's going to be like, ooh,
Defensive.
Like, what did I do? Why is she coming at me? And so they have recommendations for just having to like start it up in a softer way.
Yeah.
So there are four parts. The first one is you can say, I share some responsibility for this. So instead of being like, so one thing that sometimes him and I argue about or that I get frustrated by is that if we have a gym class we're supposed to make it, and I hate being late, like I hate being late to Orange Theory, but sometimes he might still be sleeping. Instead of me being like, why are you still sleeping? Like, why aren't you up and ready to go? I can maybe say something like, hey, I know we're both really tired. We both stayed up really late. So I get why you would need to sleep in because, I'm tired too, type of thing. And the other one is, here's how I feel. And so instead of saying, you're making us late and this is pissing me off, I can say, hey, like I don't like to be late to the gym because it makes me feel really anxious. I like to have enough time to prep and to stretch, and I also want to be right next to you on the machine. So that's kind of how I'm feeling, and I just like hate being late because I hate feeling rushed. And then the third one is about a specific situation, so then we can be specific, like, hey, I want us to get there on time because I specifically if we don't get there on time, we're not prepped, and then we'll miss our class and they're going to charge us. And then here's what I need. Some of the things I need from you is, can you get our waters ready? Can you get our heart monitors charged? Can you have the car ready to go by this time? And that would make me feel less anxious. Mm-hmm. So something as simple as that, something as small of an argument that could be, instead of just attacking him and coming at him, you can kind of come a route softer so that way your partner doesn't feel automatically attacked.
Like the other side that I can see with that is, because it's funny, you and I share a lot of similarities, but it's the fact that if you were listening to Judy speak, it was really the fact that I haven't brought this communication up for some time, right? It wasn't the first time that this happened. This isn't the second time this happened. This has been happening on and on and on, and I've just magically thought that you're going to catch it. And I'm bringing that up because I know that I do that, right? I see how my need is not being fulfilled, I don't say anything.
Right.
So I let the tank build up, and then that harsh startup comes out. Why? Because I'm at my wit's end. But guess what? I had a role in that. Because I didn't tell you that this has been bothering me for 4 weeks.
Right.
I haven't told you I've never liked this forever. Like, this is why you have to have the communication. And this book really helps with that communication. You will always hear the cliche, oh, communication, communication, communication. But we don't understand how many different ways communication is impacted, and that's why that book helps greatly. So, I hope you grab it and take a peek at it. Again, it's a very interesting read where, again, my wife read it at different times than I read it. So I would read it throughout the day on like lunch, and she would read it when she was in bed, winding down. And it was cool because we would then sit there briefly, and she'd be like, "Oh, did you get to this page?" And we would talk a little bit, and be like, "Okay, that makes so much more sense now," and you move from there.
And the main reason I love this book too is that it is applicable to any stage you're at in relationships. Whether you're in one, you're not in one, whether it's the first year, whether it's the first date. Well, maybe that first date, but...
You don't need to be psycho crazy. But
right.
Not that we're judging.
Or like 30 years in. It's just helpful. And also, it's not just for a romantic relationship. It's in any relationship. Like, I've used a lot of this stuff too with my mom, with my friends, and some, like just a lot of the simple I statements. Like, I feel this way. It can really just make relationships better. So, we love this one. So, child book, relational book, and then we have our last one, which is for all of us individuals.
All right. So, big key word, mindfulness, right? We've all been about the mindfulness. Sorry if I'm holding this wrong. I look like Moses with the 10 Commandments. Anyways, what this is, I've got two books here. These books I use every day. And again, I hope you're hearing that the books that we're recommending, we use. We are not here hawking people's stuff because we think it's cool looking or it fits a hashtag. This is actually stuff that I use. So, mindfulness, what is it? I get frustrated because mindfulness is currently overused.
Yeah.
A lot. I'm seeing it on pillows. I'm seeing it on bumper stickers. I'm over it like that. Mindfulness is actually a very important process, a very important intervention that we need to use daily. But it is not just breathing.
Right.
Mindfulness is not just breathing.
I mean, granted, we love breathing. It's helpful.
We kind of need it.
Yeah.
But if it was just breathing, we wouldn't need mindfulness.
There wouldn't be thousands of books on just breathing. I mean, there could be, but
and I don't want to discredit it. I know that meditation works. I know yoga works.
Absolutely.
I know that all works, but I don't want to get stuck in the cliches. I want to give you something that actually works. So, if you find yourself getting more anxious in life, you feel yourself building anxiety, and this anxiety can be felt through just feeling like you constantly need to run, feeling like you don't have a space to wind down or reprieve, you might want to start thinking about what am I doing to actually keep myself present in life. This is what's interesting about the human psyche. The human psyche exists in 3 dimensions always, but we rarely exist in one of them. So, it's the past. We constantly live in our past. Or we are constantly trying to project our future while we are exactly in the present, okay? This is the whole takeaway in this segment is if you are present, then you can dictate what your future is and it doesn't have to resemble your past. That is the big takeaway. That is why mindfulness is so powerful. When you hear people get up and talk about success or putting their life in order or really taking their career to that next step or themselves or their families, they will always be talking about the present. Okay? So, both of these are designed to be used by the clinician or the everyday Joe or Jane, per se, right? So, the first one is called the Mindfulness Toolbox. It's on Amazon. They're both on Amazon. It's written by a gentleman named Donald Altman. And why, Adam, do you use this every day? Believe it or not, these are really big in Medi-Cal right now. for individuals that are in substance abuse recovery or alcoholics, or I use them in my private practice clients. But normally when I'm writing treatment plans, I got both of these as I work in substance abuse and alcohol recovery. The reason being is they break down the interventions really well, and again, it's not just breathing. Imagine trying to tell grown men, let's just deep breathe. It's not gonna work, okay? And I can hear already a bunch of people flaming mad. It works. It does, but it's not the only intervention to teach someone in being mindful. Mm-hmm. So, in this one, the Mindfulness Toolbox, one thing I really like is a handout that they provide you. And I should probably tell you a little bit more about these. These are actual workbooks. They do give you what I would call body paragraphs. So they do introduce you to why you're doing things, why these tools exist, what this is going to help you in the mindfulness process. And drum roll, they do have breathing in here. But it's nice because it provides you with something that's tangible in some other way. So one of my favorite interventions from this one, and it's great for kids, great for adults, is called My Favorite Things. And I don't know, Judy, how about you? I'm going to put you through this real quick.
I can use mindfulness.
So, it's something that you don't really sit around and do. So, My Favorite Things. What I would ask of you is, obviously, if we had more time, I'd ask her to take 3 deep breaths, exhale 3 times, put her feet on the floor, be grounded, and then I would ask her, what I want you to do is I want you to take a moment, close your eyes, and I want you to think of your favorite place.
Oh. My room.
Okay. And is there a color associated with that room?
White.
How about
light blue.
Okay.
But that's not actually the color of my room.
Okay, let's pull this back.
Okay.
What is your favorite color? How about that? Would that be easier?
I have lots of favorite colors. Well, I like a mint Tiffany blue.
Okay, mint Tiffany blue. Goodness gracious. Good luck, AJ. Freaking A. Like, anyways.
It's so pretty.
It is, but expensive. Anyways, so you're gonna fall there. Okay, so that's the blue. Now, you sort of jumped a little ahead, but I appreciate that. What would you associate that color with?
Well, I mean, Tiffany's, yes,
of
the
course.
Jewelry store,
but
also
something that means something to you.
But also like relaxation and kind of like a brightness.
Okay. All right. And so now I want to make a list, and I want you to make a list. And again, if we had more time, just pull out maybe two experiences or favorite things that are associated with that color. And so to help her along with it, because there's actually words to visualize with this one, it could be something as simple as a flower. It could be something as a hobby. It could be something as like the beach. It could be something the time of day. It could be a scenic place.
Well, my first thought of the color was like my private practice office, like the first one with Cav. When we decorated together with your wife, like it just, for me, little pops of the mint blue is so homey, I think, and stylish, I think, and it's very feminine.
I will have to say that it not just a feminine bit, but you nailed it in the fact that when we assembled that office, it did feel like home.
Yeah.
Right? It felt like a place I would want to spend with another person, which is very powerful as a therapist as well, right?
Yeah.
So the reason why I like this handout is, as I use it when I'm teaching a group of men or I'm sitting down with an individual client, is very rarely as adults do we make lists that are emotionally based or really lay out things that I appreciate. So the whole intervention here is to get a person out of their cognitive mind, getting themselves in their feeling mind, remind them of things that they cherished. Because you may say, my color, you said Tiffany blue, some will say green, some will say whatever, and then you ask, what do you associate that with? Oh, I used to go to this canyon, maybe I saw in Zion, I saw this color on a canyon wall.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I forgot how much I love nature. Oh, I forgot how much I enjoy camping. Oh, I forget whatever that might be.
Right.
So this is a great handout of mindfulness in being able to list things that you enjoy. Mm-hmm. Because you're not going to be able to pull out things that you don't presently enjoy, right?
Right.
It's not just the past, it's not just the future, it's what you presently enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that.
Which is really weird because as you were talking about it, like I was looking around the house right now and I was noticing this little cart thing that we have in the corner, and our audience can't see it, but you see it. And like that's there every day, and I totally forgot that it was kind of the same color. And so it did make me more mindful, like in the present in my home, because I walk through this room all the time, but I don't, like I spend so much time decorating it initially, but now it's just like I just walk through it and I don't really like appreciate it anymore. And so that was kind of cool.
When you say that, because that cart matches that turntable.
Yeah, and I did that on purpose. So like little pops of teal, like Tiffany blue, is in my house. Absolutely. But it's like once I finished decorating it, it's like I just was no longer mindful of it, and so that activity actually made me like sit back and go, oh, like I actually appreciate that part about my home.
It takes you to a moment of where you bought it. Takes you to, so that's a part of mindfulness. Sometimes we forget that it's not just grounding, and I actually will argue that mindfulness and grounding are two different things. Grounding is what brings you to present. Mindfulness is where you go in the present. So, next one that I love is called the Mindfulness Skills Workbook. It's written by a person called, I'm so sorry, Deborah, if I ruined this. It's Deborah Burdick, I think is her name. It's Burdick. Again, you can find it on Amazon. Both of these are very reasonably priced. So again, average Joe or Jane, pick it up. Pre-licensed clinician, it's not going to kill you. Licensed people, you're making the cash, so you should get it. Anyways, what we're going to talk about on this one, again, there's totally a draw between these two interventions, but I really like this. And this one is called One Word at a Time. So what you would use this for is, let's say you're feeling, let's say you're in a good season in life. You're like, wow, everything work's going good, the bills are getting paid, I'm saving, I may be working towards my goal, but I'm lost in the joy, right? And what I mean by that is sometimes we can be very descriptive on how we feel in the bad, and then when we're in the good, we don't recognize it at all, right? And that's not good for any of us, for us to be able to recognize the bad but not enjoy the good. Yeah. So, this one word at a time, what you do is it's helping you build the ability to tell a story. And what I mean by that is you're going to be able to narratively express how you feel. So, let's say, again, you're in a good position in your life. You're like, maybe you would say that you feel content. Maybe you feel safe. Maybe you feel secure. Maybe a good spot with no trouble makes you feel complacent. Maybe it makes you feel bored. God only knows, right? But there's a lot to it. What you're able to do is you're taking these words and you're writing them down in a list again. What you can do is then you categorize that list. Maybe you only have 4 words. Maybe you have 40 words. But what are the themes there? Yeah. Is it thankfulness? Is it negativity? What is it there? Because that will also dictate how you experience the present, right? And I'm not saying that you're wrong in either way that you experience it, because we've all grown up differently. We've all experienced tragedies differently. We sometimes, again, and this comes back to the whole brainchild, essentially this is your beginning intervention as a child, and this is the one as an adult. Because when we ask kids to give me a word, sometimes it's that inner kid inside of us that doesn't have the word to give, and so we have to search that out. We have to build that skill set. We have to give ourselves a reason to be able to verbalize it. So, I like using this as an adult. And again, this is also something you can use with your adolescent. You can use it with everyone. But it helps you be able to find yourself presently, find how you're viewing things presently, and then reality check it. And what I mean by reality check is sometimes those narratives, maybe the list you wrote was kind of negative. But you're sitting there and you go, okay, well, let's play this out. Why do I feel these things? Maybe it's not associated with the people around me. Maybe I don't really have a right to feel that way at this moment? Is it because of something else? That helps us be mindful, helps us be present, helps us move forward. Because when we are not mindful, we are normally conflicted by our emotions. Largely because we don't know what we're feeling.
Exactly. And so we're hoping that all 3 of these books will serve you well over the summer, so you're able to connect with your family, your friends, your significant others, relationally, for you to connect with your inner child, your own children, and also most importantly to connect with yourself and to just enjoy your summer.
Yes.
And if you guys have any questions or even any other books you want us to review, please let us know.
Leave us a comment. Let us know what's going on. We're already building up for season 2. It's going to be a fun one. We're going to bring other clinicians that are located around us locally. We're going to try to see how we can pipe in clinicians that are not local.
Right.
We appreciate those who have reached out and wanted to be on the podcast.
Thank you guys so much for being here this season.
Yes, you guys have been amazing. Our viewers and our listeners, thank you again for giving us a reason to do this podcast. It is always nice to hear people who are listening to our stuff on the way in, or you sit up and you watch it with your spouse or in your own alone time. So thank you so much for what you guys do. We're going to keep bringing you content as long as you want it. So, is that it?
That is. We're going to take a couple weeks off, and then we'll be back in the middle of summer.
Yes, have a wonderful summer. Try to be present. Try to be mindful.
Yes.
But above all, just live life and joy. So we will talk to you soon. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.